to spend their valuable time going through protocols in the course of this webinar. I therefore welcome and salute our excellencies, our highnesses, our lords spiritual and temporal, our eminent guest speakers, the guardians of our freedom, members of the fourth estate of the realm, the brave and gallant ladies and gentlemen of the press, members of the Federal Steering Committee of FSD, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Without preempting the truly eminent cast of speakers that we have invited to help us dissect the cost of corruption to our nation, I would like to make some few remarks. Underscoring the importance, the depth, the breadth, and the pervasiveness of corruption in our society, we have intentionally devised this seminar as a two-part series. The first part is to help us dimension the problem and set out the cost of corruption to our country and what it is costing us individually. Often when a problem affects everybody, in general, we think it is either academic or remote, or we sometimes normalize it by saying when heaven falls, it will not fall on me alone. Unfortunately, each one of us personally suffers the consequences of corruption in ways that dehumanize us, reduce our quality of life, strip us of our dignity, deny us employment, and could even cost us our life. We have all heard stories of the alleged corruption that has attended the acquisition of armaments meant to tackle our decade-old war against insurgency in the Northeast. Our security challenges are now practically nationwide. I am sure many of us can give even more personal accounts of how corruption has cost or has threatened the lives of family members, friends, and compatriots. We are not only victims, but the system has also been rigged to make nearly all of us complicit. Very few of us can say we have not had to yield to extortion of official toll gatekeepers at one time or the other. Many of those who perpetrate corruption are our friends and associates. Worse still, our public officers, including presidents, have been seen in company of indicted individuals who are undergoing active prosecution in the courts. In such situation, what do we expect the people to think? Needless to say, corruption goes beyond embezzlement of money, stealing, contract inflation, etc. It includes any act in which somebody in a position of power or trust uses that position to acquire for himself and others benefits and advantages to which they will not otherwise be entitled. The benefit need not be financial. So perversion of justice or giving preferment to people based on religion, ethnic affinity, all constitutes acts of corruption. There is some amount of corruption in every society. What makes a difference is that many countries have not allowed themselves to be defined by the malaise. They have erected structures to prevent, detect, and punish acts of corruption that are detected. We have not done enough in this respect. We have very weak institutions, and in many ways, some of the most venal appear protected by those who should be prosecuting them. The international dimension of the fraudulent activities of a tiny fraction in our society have unjustifiably tarnished the reputation of Nigerians in general. We must, however, admit many of these criminally minded compatriots have been nurtured here in Nigeria, incubated in a system that is lax in diligent law enforcement and prosecution. We are generally fixated with corruption in the public sector. The truth is, the private sector is not immune. Indeed, the story has been told of a businessman that suffered such pilferage in his factory on a scale that he decided was better off hiring only foreign managers. That is a man frustrated to deny his own compatriots jobs because of the growing ethical problem in our character. The problem is compounded by the fact that reporting fraud cases to the police hardly results in diligent prosecution, even when such people are caught red-handed. I'm sure you'll find today's speakers as masters of the subject matter. We have on the panel some of those whose work in public office has brought hope and cheer to our hearts. They, by their personal leadership example, Obi Ezekwesili as Madam Due Process, Professor Isaac Oloyede, with the magic of turning marginal surplus to humongous, surplus in an institution that perennially found very little surplus to declare year in, year out. He has even been able to reduce the cost of taking the UTME exams. Malam Nuhu Ribadu, who needs no introduction, he was the first, anti-corruption czar appointed by President Olusegun Obasanjo. They have all demonstrated that this problem is surmountable, and therefore we must find a solution. Mrs. Funke Adekoya, SAN, Professor Koyin Ajayi, SAN, Mr. Bismarck Rewane, and Mr. Sheon Onigbide offer us intellectual, professional, and analytical perspectives to the subject matter. Our charge to you is to take some time to reflect on the issues around the cost of corruption as enunciated at today's webinar and seek solutions to this malaise. The second part of this series, which will focus on taming corruption, the search for new initiatives, will come up in the next few weeks. We would like to make that as interactive as possible. We solicit your active participation in search for new initiatives and the ways to rejuvenate and reinforce the existing structures and programs. In this regard, we request you to send us in the next 2 weeks your own suggestions in no more than 1,000 words. What new initiatives we should take and how we can reinforce the existing structures and programs. This will be collated along with FSD's own ideas and will be presented for discussions during the second part of the second webinar. Before yielding, let me introduce FSD Association to those who do not know us and why we are doing this. FSD is a member-funded association. Its vision is to build an egalitarian federal Nigeria and transform Nigeria into a global economic and technological power, the pride of Africa. While its mission is to galvanize the people to build a knowledge-based and value-driven society, inspired and sustained by selfless leaders, restoring trust in public service, bringing governance closer to the people, and delivering the greatest good to the greatest number of our people. Our values are selfless service, zero tolerance for all forms of corruption, justice and equity, knowledge-based society, integrity, transparency, and accountability. Our first public outing was a workshop in honor of the memory of Alhaji Lateef Jakonde. With the theme Selfless Leadership, Alhaji Lateef Jakonde as an exemplar. You can visit our website to get the record of the proceedings of the workshop. This is our second outing. We are dedicated to our values, and we hope we will bring Nigerians to the realization that our progress lies not only in transforming our governance structure, but we must also transform our values. We are kitted for the long haul, as we set out to educate the electorate about the sacredness and power of their votes and convince the elite that it is in our best interest to make democracy work and be meaningful for all citizens. We are federal in aspiration for the governance of Nigeria and in our structure, and we are social democratic, holding close to our hearts liberal democracy and its values, and free enterprise, with government providing equal access to opportunities for all citizens to be the best they can be while protecting the weak and vulnerable. If you share our vision and values, please join us and let us change the narrative and the trajectory of Nigeria. We must bring to reality the long vaunted potential of Nigeria to be a great country. It is time. Thank you for listening and for joining this webinar, and have a fruitful time with us.